Welcome everyone this week once again to Reimagining the Magic. I am Katie.
I'm Julie.
And this week we're going to talk about 3 former major players in the Disney company, specifically the animation department, who then went on to do their own projects and do their own things in their varying levels of success. But first, we'd like to thank everyone who has followed us and participated on social media, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that. We definitely appreciate it. We have a Facebook group, too, where you can jump in and start discussions, and we will definitely participate with you. And we also would like to thank our sponsor, Breach. That is BREACH.TV, your new home for podcasts, movies, music, creator-based entertainment, and more. And as soon as you make an account and start uploading, so long as you have a working PayPal account and sign into the agreement, you can start making money from your content so long as it meets terms of service. And unlike other platforms, we've been making money on Breach with our podcast.
Yeah. So there's there's no limits there's no view limits or anything. So
or subscriber limits either.
That you have to reach before you can make money. Yeah, Breach has been incredibly kind to us. We love working with them, and so yeah, go out and give them a try.
It's totally free to sign up, 100% free. And from what I've heard, there are changes coming in the works. They're updating the homepage, they're updating the video view pages, and they're incorporating some new things. So definitely keep an eye out. Make an account. Everything's free. Give them a try today. And I guess we'll jump right in with our 3 people, and Julie will start.
Right. We don't have any news this week because we are recording this immediately after the last one, so all the news is the same. So we'll just jump right in. The first person we're going to talk about is a man who animated a movie that was just, I loved it. I still to this day love the original. I'm kind of mixed on all the sequels, but the original is fantastic. And I mean, just as a little girl growing up, I loved it. It was so pretty. The man's name is Richard Rich. He was the he's the animation director, film director for the Swan Princess. So yes, by the way, if you're curious, that series is still ongoing. They had a movie come out last year.
what on streaming or something?
No, direct to DVD.
People still buy those?
Yep.
Learn something new every day.
Right. So I'm not entirely sure why he left Disney, but he worked. So it was funny. So first of all, the first 2 people we're talking about are Richard Rich and Don Bluth, and these guys actually worked together on the same films, like almost all the way down the line.
It looks like they both left in like the middle period of what they call like the Disney Dark Ages, before the real tanker that was Black Cauldron. Right.
Yeah. No. Well, now. Richard Rich actually worked on Black Cauldron and left after that.
Don Bluth seems to have left before that.
Right. So this guy worked on Robin Hood, Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, The Rescuers, Pete's Dragon, Wait, hold on. Oh, other just anime. Okay, so he's just animating around those. And then he was the director of The Fox and the Hound. He was the director. Oh, this is probably why he left Disney. He was the director of The Black Cauldron.
Oh, no.
He was also the producer and the writer. Oh, wait, also the writer of The Black Cauldron. So, I can maybe his parting with Disney wasn't by choice.
Yeah.
Who knows?
The Black Cauldron, you don't hear much about it because Disney doesn't want you to know about it.
Yeah, Disney doesn't want you to remember that it exists. So that was in 1985, and he resurfaced again in 1994 with the Swan Princess, which took 4 years to animate because of how meticulously they animated it, which when you see Odette transform, you can tell it's meticulously animated. It's beautiful. Those are my favorite scenes in the entire movie is when she transforms.
Can you tell people what the Swan Princess is about if they didn't grow up with it?
Okay, so the Swan Princess is it's basically a telling of the tale of Swan Lake, where you have the woman who's turned into a swan, and she's cursed to be a swan by day and a beautiful woman by night, and the only thing that will fix it is her prince coming to rescue her. But at one point, the wizard who did this to her creates a dark swan to trick the prince, and it's actually a really fun movie. It's got lots of songs in it, and animal sidekicks, and it's a very much a Disney movie, a Disney-esque movie.
So many people mistake it for Disney.
Right, which it is not. It was released by Nest Entertainment, which was founded by Richard Rich himself. And I don't know what all they put out these days. Maybe it is only the Swan Princess movies, but they're still making money. So
what else has he made since Swan Princess?
He worked on Alpha and Omega and all its entailing sequels. Which
it wasn't the best movie, but it did really well with kids.
Right. Oh, it's another one of those movies that launched 1,000 furries. Kids, don't ask your parents what furries are.
Yeah, didn't he also work on King and I?
Yes, he did work on The King and I.
I liked that movie. I remember liking that.
I've never seen it. Like, I remember seeing commercials for it growing up, but I never got to see it. Let me see. King and I. He was the director of The King and I.
I remember that. I remember liking it. Did he have anything to do with Quest for Camelot?
No, he had nothing to do with Quest for Camelot.
Who had something to do with Quest for Camelot? Because that was a travesty.
I have no idea. I've actually never seen Quest for Camelot either.
I saw it when I was a kid. It was terrible.
So yeah, he didn't go on to do much. Like, mostly what he works on is direct to DVD. Like Swan Princess is on. Hold on, let me see. I think we're on like movie 8 at this point, which I've only seen the first 2. Let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're on 7 right now.
Good Lord.
Right. So he also, like I said, he also worked on Alpha and Omega, which has a whole bunch of movies too. He was the producer of Alpha and Omega.
Oh, and he made bank off those.
Right. 3, 4, 5. There are 5 Alpha and Omega films.
And I think most of them are on Netflix and Hulu.
Right. So this guy's big success was the original Swan Princess, which, like I said, it's a beautiful movie. It gets maligned for not being. It doesn't stand out too much, but it's a fun movie to watch. It's very pretty. Girls love it. Guys may love it too. I don't know. I'm a girl, so. Like, I know I loved it growing up, and I love the pretty colors and when she transformed, and, like, someday I'll cosplay Odette, but...
It's weird. I heard of it a lot when I was a kid, but I don't think I ever saw it.
Yeah, it's definitely worth giving a watch to it. It's pretty nice.
So, I guess we want to move on to Don Bluth.
Yeah, so, like, Richard Rich is kind of a small player in this, but I just want to mention him because he did have one very big success, which was the Swan Princess. Don Bluth, one of the juggernauts that we're going to talk about.
And Don Bluth is from El Paso, Texas.
Yay, fellow Texan!
And so he worked for Disney on projects like Robin Hood, Winnie the Pooh and Tigger 2, Rescuers, Pete's Dragon. He worked as director, animator. He had some involvement with Disney, but he seemed to have left before Black Cauldron. And there's not much information given as to why he and Disney split ways.
Right.
People assume because of the timing, it was because of pay issues.
Right.
Disney was not doing well in the 70s and 80s.
Right. And Don Bluth went on to create some massively successful movies.
The first one being The Secret of NIMH. Which
I love this movie. It's a fantastic movie. When I was little, my mom read Mrs. Frisby and the Rats of NIMH to us. I have a very special place in my heart for that book. So when I found out there was a movie, I guess mid 90s is when we got a copy of the VHS of it. I was completely entranced by it. I loved it. I hated the fact that they changed Miss Frisbee's name to Miss Brisby with a B, but whatever.
I think it's
a beautiful movie.
I think that was to avoid confusing kids because at the time, Frisbee was a popular toy.
Mm-hmm. That is true. And but it's a beautiful movie, beautiful movie. I've always been a fan of his animation because I've always kind of liked the dark edge that it had to it. Like there's always like a sense of darkness to it, but there's also this like sense of wonder. So it doesn't have the same like polished, clean, squeaky cleanness of Disney, and I've always enjoyed that.
That movie scared me so much. I was afraid of the owl.
Yeah, the owl is pretty creepy.
And I was afraid of the old rat guy. I didn't like him.
Nicodemus?
I didn't like him.
Nicodemus.
I didn't like him. I'm like, no, go away.
If there, I will admit this. If there were any movie that could have made me a furry, it was that one because I thought Justin was pretty cool as a kid. I was like, he's pretty.
You know there was a direct-to-video sequel, right?
Yes, I have seen it, and it made me mad because the book has a sequel, and they did not address anything from the book sequel in the movie sequel. Sorry, there are sirens going by our apartment right now, and you can probably hear them. So,
Ooh, someone's in trouble.
right, I'm trying to talk over them, but yeah, no, I was so mad about that. So, there's actually 3 books in the Secret of Nim series. The first one is obviously Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. The second one is, I believe it's called Roscoe and the Rats of Nim. I'm trying to remember what the third one was called. It had like a pink cover um, but yeah, no, there's 3 books. All of them are fantastic. The second movie has nothing to do with what the second book was about. And I was so mad.
And it came out direct to video. They had no faith in it. And another claim to fame was An American Tail.
Yeah, fantastic movie. I'm sure it's got its problematic elements because, it was made in the 80s and we've come a long way since then. But you want to talk about the Jewish American experience? Go watch that movie.
It is such a Jewish movie, and people who argue otherwise can fight me.
Right. No, they are 100. His name is Fievel. They are 100% Jewish.
And his name is Fievel, and the father has a clear Jewishness.
Right?
The enemies are cats, and cats have been used in Jewish storytelling to talk about the big, bad people who try to, get rid of us.
Yeah. So yeah, first of all, it's a fantastic movie just on the level of they told a story basically about the experience of Russian Jews coming to America seeking refuge. And on that level, it's a wonderful story, but also on just the level of being pretty approachable for kids as well, because it's about a little mouse. How can you not love it? And if you think about the time it came out, which I think it came out in the early to mid 80s, something like that. There wasn't a whole lot coming out with Mickey Mouse at the time, so didn't really have to compete too much with that either.
I like to think of it as a sequel to Fiddler on the Roof.
Right? Oh, I love Fiddler on the Roof so much.
Because Fiddler on the Roof ends with them having to leave their obviously Russian town to go immigrate elsewhere.
Right.
So I like to think it's just like a cartoon version of them continuing into America.
Right. And of course the sequel, Fievel Goes West, will forever be one of my favorite films because I just love Western stuff. I just need to cop to that now because I never do, and then people call me out on it, and they're like, "No, I've known you long enough." But it's just such a wonderful movie, and I've always enjoyed Fievel Goes West.
Here's Don Bluth pushing the envelope. All dogs go to heaven.
Also a fantastic movie. Oh my gosh, love that movie. Don Bluth is like my childhood. People are like, Disney was my childhood, and I'm like, no, Don Bluth was mine.
Well, the problem is a lot of people mistake Don Bluth and stuff for Disney.
Right? All Dogs Go to Heaven is amazing. Thumbelina, fantastic movie, so underrated.
And Thumbelina, the girl who voiced her, also voiced Ariel.
Really, I didn't know that.
I need to point this out. How much got past the radar in All Dogs Go to Heaven. It showed dogs drinking alcohol, smoking, gambling, and it showed hell.
No, that's very true. It definitely had hell.
And that was for kids. Thanks, Don Bluth. You scarred children.
Right?
And then, before Thumbelina came a very iconic movie, The Land Before Time.
Oh. My little dinosaur loving heart. Oh, this movie breaks my heart, and I love it anyway.
And I'm going to argue this. The death of Littlefoot's mother is way more traumatic than the death of Mufasa.
Oh my gosh. Because, I've seen this scene. It just makes me cry every time.
Because I've seen Lion King even now, and I'm not really all that affected by Mufasa, but if I put on Land Before Time and I see, Mama Longneck die, I'm not okay.
Right? I'm not okay at all.
And just how she guides Littlefoot and his friends. And it's just, oh, Mama Longneck.
Right? Oh my gosh.
You and Grandma Tala would be friends.
Mama. It just makes me so sad.
And then something that spawned a lot of sequels. That? Land for Time spawned so many sequels.
Oh, right. Okay. So The second film was actually the first one I ever saw. I had to actually go back and watch the first one at one point.
And the
But
tone is so different.
right, oh my gosh, the tone between one and everything else is just
I, I,
it's just
I think
ridiculous.
there's one or two songs in the first movie, and they're like sung like by off screen. They're not sung by the characters.
Hmm.
And then from the first sequel onward, which were all direct to video, they sing, and it's more bright and colorful. And Sharptooth's not nearly as scary. The dangers aren't nearly as scary. The stakes aren't nearly as high.
Right? Oh my gosh.
But one of the sequels, it's you see Littlefoot's dad come back.
Hmm.
Ron, my brother and I started a meme with that because it was in the movie where he came back and he was trying to explain like why he was gone in the first movie. It's like oh I left to go try to find a better place for your mother and for you and for our family, and then there was that the all the earth shake and everything, and then you can see all this fire coming, and then my brother yells, and then the Fire Nation attacked. Which is a reference to Avatar The Last Airbender, but it still makes me laugh today. So shout out to you, Buddha, for the Fire Nation attacked. Because that was good. But there are so many sequels. Some good, some some no.
Right. Oh my gosh.
And then there was a TV series.
Hmm.
It became-
Now, I never saw the TV series, to be completely fair.
I think I saw a couple. I know they added, like, I guess, like, cousins or sisters for Sarah.
Hmm.
And I was like, what? And I think in one of the new ones, Spike actually starts talking. And it was a big deal in one of the sequels when Spike talked. And he only talked once. And all he said was Ducky. Because he was trying to save Ducky because Ducky was in danger.
Right.
You don't make Spike talk. That's a cardinal rule of Land
It's
Before
like
Time.
it's like making Pikachu talk. Like, no.
And it's like, Don Bluth is like, why? Because he had no... After the movies, after the first one, he had no control over it. That was all Universal.
Right.
Like, they didn't even keep the same voice cast or anything. Well, they kind of couldn't with Ducky. For a reason we'll get out of there, because the girl who voiced Ducky is also the girl who voiced the girl in All Dogs Go to Heaven, Judith Barcy.
She was murdered by her father.
Yep, as was her mother. And her gravestone says, yep, yep, yep.
Oh, I didn't know that. Like, I knew about it, I just didn't know that, and that makes me sad.
So, but it's if you can look up where it is, and actually it's one of those things where they do appreciate people going and leaving flowers.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of those celebrity graves. They do welcome people going, as long as you're not disrespectful, to leave flowers. And because she had such a future ahead of her. And she died because her father was jealous.
Yeah. And it's just real sad, but,
And then...
yeah, Land Before Time was a massive, massive success for Don Bluth.
So successful, Disney had to rip off it.
Yeah, Dinosaur!
I'm sorry, the opening of Dinosaur up to the point where you see the first lemur, frame by frame with how the opening of Land Before Time is, the only difference is one is CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now.
Right.
And they want to say that Dinosaur was in production for forever. Land Before Time came out, I believe, in like 1988, 1989. Dinosaur came out in 2000, and it was a work in progress for 10 years. So I seriously think they saw that and were like, we can do that.
Right. I can do anything, you can do better.
And then
basically.
And then Don Bluth started taking kind of more Disney approach with Thumbelina, which people cite as being his first attempt to compete with Disney. Well, right. Hiring the voice actress for Ariel to play Thumbelina.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie is just very weird because Thumbelina is not a very active character. Stuff just kind of happens to her.
Yeah, and then of course there's Charo the Coochie Coochie Frog. So.
Oh God. And then that movie made me uncomfortable. I think I saw it like twice. I didn't like it.
I liked it as a kid, but I mean, looking back, I'm like, why did I like this movie? Like for nostalgia's sake, I would still watch it, but at the same time, I'm like, this movie has a lot of problems.
And then he also made Rock-a-Doodle.
Oh, that's right. Oh man, Rock-a-Doodle's an old one. I remember watching Rock-a-Doodle when I was like 2 or 3.
And then A Troll in Central Park, which was very boring.
Yeah. Was he involved in We're Back, A Dinosaur Story?
No, I don't think he was.
Okay. That movie was, you want to talk about scarring children.
No, that was not him. That was someone else, but I'm like, he did Troll in Central Park, he did Rock-a-Doodle.
Right. And then his most famous success.
That to compete with Disney.
Anastasia.
Which is not a Disney movie. It was produced by Fox.
Right. Although it is now owned by Disney.
But she's not going to be a Disney princess.
Yeah. So Anastasia is a fantastic movie. I think it's the best one he's ever made, personally, because every time I watch that movie, I just swoon. It is beautiful. Like, just the animation is just, oh, everything's so good. The voice acting is fantastic.
The only qualm is that it is based on a historical thing, and it plays around a little too much with history.
Quote, historical. Well, in a way it does, but in a way it doesn't, because it wasn't inspired by Anastasia herself. It was inspired by somebody who was an Anastasia imposter for a long time. And so her story is more what translated to what became Anastasia versus the actual truth. And I don't know if I want to ruin everyone's day by telling them what actually happened to Anastasia, because it's quite gruesome. But
but I like how in the movie they try to make it out to be like the royal family of the Tsar. It's a wonderful time for everybody.
it's not.
And what happened
Spoilers,
after was
definitely not.
And what happened was after was worse. I'm not gonna say it was significantly better, but it was better than inept czars.
Right. But yeah, they do kind of make the royal family out to be like this, like, oh, we're so nice, and I'm just like, no, there wasn't. The mom was basically sleeping with Rasputin, and
And they try to make Rasputin out to be this big bad villain when he wasn't.
well, he wasn't a villain so much as just he was an advisor to the queen, to the empress, I guess is what they would have called her, and he was
I think
he
was
was
also the medicine person too.
right, and he was very much disliked by people who dissented with the government.
So
He was not the royal family's enemy.
so if you want to see a good analysis, Lindsay Ellis, we've plugged her before for her stuff. She does really good critiques and analysis of movies. This is one of her older ones when she still went by Nostalgia Chick. You can find it on her channel, and you can find it on YouTube. It's her review of Anastasia. She goes all into that. Like, she talks about the good, she talks about the bad. So if you want to really go in depth about that movie, that's the video I recommend watching.
Right.
So, but it had good music.
It did. It had fantastic music. Oh my gosh. So we did this tiny little free concert. Just there was a bunch. I know a bunch of music people, and they wanted to do specifically theater people, and they wanted to do like a concert where we all sang like different songs and stuff, and free concert. Anybody could come watch. We just wanted to do something for fun. We called ourselves Cantandi. And I ran the sound for their first show, but I actually did sing in the second show. And my audition piece was Once Upon a December.
That song gives you feels.
It's so beautiful. I love it. The music just swells, and the people come out of the paintings, and it's all sparkly and pretty. And they have a successful Broadway musical based on it now, which I've been following. I'd love to go see it.
I did say that the movie gave me feels because I'm someone who is very, very attached to their grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
So the grandmother feels, the being reunited with the grandmother.
Right.
I was like, aw. For as far as like comedic sidekicks, they weren't bad. Like, I loved Bartok when I was a kid.
Oh my gosh. And then I'd give her a ha, and a ha, yeah, and a woo-wah, and then I'd kick her, sir.
I don't remember where
Hank Azaria.
I don't remember where I got this talking plushie where you squeeze it in and it talks. I don't know if it was Burger King or somewhere else, but I had one of Bartok, and it said that, and it said some other quotes. And that movie just happened to come out when I was like in my weird elementary school phase obsession with bats. So I love Bartok. I love Stella Luna.
Oh my gosh, I should read that book. I never read that book.
I loved Batty and Fern Gully with Robin Williams.
Oh my gosh, man, that movie scared the crap out of me as a kid.
Now it's great because it has Robin Williams and Tim Curry. But that is not a Don Bluth film. So now let's get to the final blockbuster Don Bluth film that did not do as well as he would have hoped, and that would be Titan AE.
Was that really a Don Bluth film?
That was Don Bluth.
Wow. Was that the last film he made?
That was the last major film he made, yep.
Oh my gosh, what has that guy been doing?
He's been educating.
Huh, really? That's interesting.
He's been making tutorials, writing books, that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember Titan AE. I think I've only seen it like once, but I remember one of my friends was obsessed with it.
It flopped. It tanked. It basically, it was for Fox and Don Bluth what Treasure Planet was for Disney.
Yeah. Didn't they come out? Well, no, I think Titan AE came out a little bit before
It
Treasure Planet, a
did.
couple of years.
It did, and it had arguably better animation.
Yeah, oh, it was beautiful. I remember it being just everything Don Bluth does. There's so much attention to detail. It's always gorgeous.
So he's been doing stuff since. You can look him up. I believe he posts. He's worked on a lot of shorts.
Hmm.
Before we get into the final person, here's some random trivia. Remember the Brave Little Toaster movie?
Yeah, I love Brave Little Toaster.
The team that did that, guess who they went on to become?
Who?
Pixar.
Really?
Technically, the first Pixar movie was Brave Little Toaster.
Oh, I love that. No wonder it's so good.
And,
Only Pixar could pull off a movie about appliances.
and make it heartfelt. And the song Worthless still today is in my head with this Cars. And it gives me feels. Yeah, you think the song Worthless with the Cars, they kept that and then used that for Cars?
Maybe.
Because, dang, but, oh, the feels from that movie, and it was scary. It was scary. So, yeah, that a lot of people worked on that. They went and became Pixar. It was Lasseter. It was, if you watch the credits, look at the credits for, Brave Little Toaster, they match a lot of the big head honchos in Pixar.
Hmm.
And now to the final person, Katzenberg.
Yeah, this guy is the biggest of the big guys that came out of that left Disney to create their own companies.
And there is a toss-up. It's not known if he left or if he was fired. There is no clarification.
Right.
But it is known he was very, very disgruntled with the company. And when the person, I believe they were the vice president or something, they were, I forget his name, and I'm so sorry I forget his name, but he was basically friends with Katzenberg and Eisner and kind of served as a mediator between them. And the company really couldn't have run as well as they did at the time without him. He died in a helicopter accident.
Oh my gosh.
And after that is when things started kind of going to hell.
Yeah. So he left Disney
But
under
his credit,
suspicious circumstances.
his credits for Disney was he was at the helm of the animation department when it started with the Renaissance. He, with Great Mouse Detective, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, and Pocahontas.
Yeah, the big however many you just named off right there. I didn't count.
The ones that really launched off the Disney Renaissance. Technically, Little Mermaid starts at Disney Renaissance, but Great Mouse Detective gave them the faith and the budget to try to go with Little Mermaid.
Right. Oh, and Great Mouse Detective was one of the first times that they started incorporating 3D animation into 2D movies.
Yep. So they a lot went into that, and Katzenberg, after his falling out, I think part of it was he wanted the position of vice president or something, and Eisner said no, and there was a whole bunch of back and forth. So he left, and he teamed up. So then he went up to form, as we know, DreamWorks. Now, if you've seen DreamWorks, you've seen the initials SKG. Do you know do you know what this stands for?
No.
The K obviously stands for Jeffrey Katzenberg. The S, Steven Spielberg, and the G is David Geffen. So it's DreamWorks SKG. It was started by those three guys: Spielberg, Katzenberg, and Geffen. And we all know Steven Spielberg's very successful film history.
Right. He's made a lot of very good films.
So the first movie released by DreamWorks was Ants. It was,
which often gets called a ripoff of A Bug's Life, but it's actually better content wise, but it's also more mature.
And it came out before.
Right.
But there are claims that before he left Disney that he had heard the basic premises for A Bug's Life, and then was just determined to churn out something similar sooner.
Mm-hmm.
So there are arguments to be made that he competed with Bug's Life on purpose.
Right.
But and the big thing in terms of Ants and the reason why part of why the movie came out, it's technically the first movie, but their passion project, that was their first passion film, was a 2D animation called Prince of Egypt.
Mm-hmm. Which is a gorgeous film. I could just talk about the animation all day, just how much I'm just like, it's pretty. I don't know anything about animation. Katie knows a ton. I know nothing. I just it's pretty.
The water is amazing. the water. That's the first animated film to really animate water looking gorgeous, and it still holds up to this day.
Yeah, that film is going to look amazing for years to come.
And arguments can be made because it was released in the mid to late 90s of them using, not, Middle Eastern actors for the roles, but the actors gave a very good performance. I mean, Ralph Fiennes as Ramesses. Amazing.
And they didn't whitewash anybody, like, with the coloring, so...
No, they looked Middle Eastern.
Zipporah is beautiful. She'll always be beautiful.
Oh, they all really look beautiful. Oh my gosh. And Aaron. No one could be Aaron better than Jeff Goldblum. I meme that movie so much in the 2006 screen caps, because sometimes you pause in a frame and it'd be really funny. Like, the part where Moses pushes that guy when he was whipping a slave and accidentally kills him?
Yeah.
And then, like, the face, like, Aaron and his sister make, like, immediately, I paused there, and Aaron's face is hysterical. It's just like, but dirt. Right. But that movie is so great, such beautiful music. It was a passion project, and DreamWorks was mad because no one should be naive. All the major animation companies talk to each other. They know, for the most part, when films are being released and the plans each company has. They all talk to each other. So Katzenberg was mad that Pixar and Disney were releasing Bug's Life so close to Prince of Egypt, and they knew it would outdo in the box office. When Prince of Egypt was their passion project. So they, on purpose, bumped the release of Ants and some other projects because they were mad about that. And
Troll City.
And the early days of DreamWorks, there was quite a bit of what we'd call dueling, where they put out films that were similar to films released by Disney and Pixar, just in, like, what appearance, but not actually. Like, people would say, like, Shark Tale came out around the same time as Finding Nemo. Madagascar came out, and then The Wild came out, but Madagascar was the better movie. Sorry, it was. People say that Road to El Dorado was dueling with Emperor's New Groove. It's not. It's a completely different story.
No, didn't it come out years before?
I think it came out a year or two before.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, they aren't even close in when they came out.
And it holds up well in its own right. And a fun fact, in the very original first draft, Miguel and Tulio were going to be gay. And so the jealousy factor with Shell wasn't just going to an that one of them was fraternizing with her and getting with her. It was actual jealousy.
Right.
So that was interesting. It is still a good movie. It's beautiful effects, a good solid story. It's funny.
Yeah, it's so funny.
And the chief, the chief of the village, he became kind of a meme in, like, my friend group in, like, high school. Like one of my friends, she would, like, make a face and we took a photo, and we're like, you look exactly like the fat chief from Road to El Dorado. So that, and then also Sinbad was another 2D feature that came out that I think was pretty good. It had that goddess character, I forget her name off the top of my head, but she was awesome. And
wait, which movie?
Sinbad.
Oh, right. I think I saw that movie, like, once, and I hardly remember it.
It's beautiful. Also, Spirit, that was also 2D with the horse.
Oh, Spirit. Speaking of my inner horse girl. Again, me with the Western stuff. Like.
And the horse didn't speak. It was all internal in the head of the horse.
Right.
But then they released a lot of, CGI films. But then as you started getting into the mid-2000s, they started releasing films that had passion behind it. Like Kung Fu Panda, Monsters vs. Aliens, How to Train Your Dragon.
I feel like we're skipping a very big player in all of this.
Clearly we are. Clearly they didn't release something that was just all of Jeffrey Katzenberg's inner bile and anger and rage towards Disney. He just had to get out in movie form, and just happened to win the first ever Oscar created for an animated feature. No, he couldn't possibly have done that. Only he did. And
it's called Shrek.
Yep, Shrek. Which released sequels and spin-offs to this day.
Yep. Although the sequels have all been pretty good. Like, I think 3 was a weak point, but
3 was
but 2 and 4 were good.
2 was amazing.
Yeah, 2 was awesome.
And then,
2 was as good as the first one.
And then Puss in Boots had his own movie.
Yeah,
which
which
was all
I've
right.
seen. It's all right. It got Antonio Banderas, whose voice I will listen to all day, every day. But you know,
At least Donkey didn't get his own movie.
oh right. Oh man, that'd be a little too much.
And that was the Shrek. I have to put out there. That was a very that was a film they took a lot of risk with, and they really tried like getting the characters to look human, like
Hmm.
Fiona, and
That was that was one of the things I noticed when the very first time I saw it was that Fiona's skin looked real.
also if you look at Farquaad's face and look at Eisner's, that's not subtle. That's not
Yeah,
subtle
yeah.
at all.
Yeah, the name also has a thing behind it, but we're a family fit friendly podcast. So we're not gonna say what it is. But
But
hey, you should definitely look up why they named him Farquaad.
it's one of those movies where you can see every time they try to either make fun of Disney or jab at Disney, especially if you played a drinking game,
Hmm.
you'd go drunk pretty quick.
Oh yeah, it's Shrek is the movie that took the Disney formula and turned it on its head and parodied the whole thing.
And people ate it up. It made so much money, and
Hmm.
it got an Oscar. It beat Jimmy Neutron obviously because
Oh
yeah,
gosh, we don't
but
speak about that
it beat
movie.
Monsters Inc. for the Oscar.
Mhm. Right, and Monsters Inc. is a wonderful movie.
And Pixar to make Monsters Inc. They broke ground with animation to make that happen.
Right, but I think in respects, DreamWorks broke more.
They really did, and it spawned a whole thing with Shrek after Shrek after Shrek. And then you could have Shrek the musical, Shrek
Right.
the TV
Gosh.
special, Shrek the 4D experience in a park,
Shrek the lunchbox. Shrek the toilet paper.
Shrek Twinkies. It got intense for a bit. It got really intense for a bit, and something made with so much hate. It's unfortunate because now a lot of movies are made with love.
Right.
Like that movie. Oh no, it slipped my brain. Megamind. Megamind.
Megamind? Okay, so fun story. I actually saw that for the first time over Thanksgiving break, and I was shocked at how good it was.
I would say it is just as good an homage and love letter to superheroes and the superhero formula as The Incredibles.
Yeah. Oh man, I was shocked at how good it was. I figured I was like, it's DreamWorks, I mean, nobody can ever top Pixar, and no, that movie was fantastic.
I would say The Incredibles is a love letter to like the older age of comics and superheroes. I'd
Hmm.
say in like the '60s and stuff, like that golden age. While Megamind is a love letter to the modern era of superheroes.
Right.
So it was definitely it's a great film. And then Kung Fu Panda made sequels, but the sequels held up
Right. Oh my
to
gosh.
the first
All
one,
of the Kung Fu Panda movies are so good.
and they're so beautiful, and they draw on a lot of martial arts and a lot of philosophy,
Hmm.
and
Like they did their research.
the character designs are gorgeous. I like that Tigress, despite being female, like she's buff,
Yeah. She's the strongest one of the group.
and
Besides
Shifu,
Poe, but he's the main character. He has to be.
and then the turtle, Master Oogway, Iroh the turtle.
Master Oogway. Aww.
And then How to Train Your Dragon.
Okay, yeah, so we gotta talk about How to Train Your Dragon because this movie is like massive. Like even right now, like aren't they working on a third movie or
I
something?
think they are, and there's already been a couple. I know there's been a TV show on Cartoon Network, and there's a Netflix series.
Hmm.
And this, again, another one where the sequel was just as good, if not better, than the first one.
Oh man, the sequel was so heartbreaking. The song that they sing together. Okay, so fun fact: the song that they sing together. I had some friends whose wedding I went to, and they sang the vows that song as their vows. Well, okay, one of them did, and it was so cute and it was amazing. So,
And fun fact, one of the people who made How to Train Your Dragon made Lilo and Stitch and made Stitch, so that's why Toothless looks kind of like Stitch.
oh my gosh, wait, that was Chris Sanders?
Yep.
Oh, I love his stuff. He's actually on DeviantArt. You ever want to go just see what he draws just in his spare time? Go look up Chris Sanders on DeviantArt.
I love how he draws people, especially women, because he makes them look like women.
He's actually he works on a series called Rescue Sirens, Mermaids right now, which I think is so cool. You
He's
can find that on Instagram.
he's such a rad artist, but like How to Train Your Dragon really surprised people, and it's such a love letter to like that fantasy kind of genre.
Hmm. but with Vikings. I love that instead of like elves and stuff, it's Vikings. It's Vikings and dragons.
And all the voice acting's pretty solid. I mean, like
Craigie Ferg.
I've never seen Jay Baruchel do better, even in live action stuff.
Right.
Like, they really utilized him well for the role of Hiccup. And, like, all the characters are good. Like, even the twins are fantastic characters. Just
right.
Rough nut, tough nut.
And it's based on a book, so if you guys are ever curious, you can go out and check out the book, which is also called How to Train Your Dragon.
My favorite part, though, with the sequel was that I forget his name, but the dragon capture guy that that Rough Nut, I believe Rough Nut gets a crush on because of the muscles. And they hone in on the muscles, and she's like, oh.
Right. Oh, man.
That was so great. I'm like, good job. And DreamWorks, they have put out some good movies. Like, Captain Underpants was them.
Really?
That was
I missed out on that one.
That was good. And obviously based on a book series.
Yeah, they do lots of the book adaptations, more so than Disney.
Boss Baby is also based on a book.
Really? That's shocking, because that movie was terrible, and it was up for a Golden Globe.
I saw it. It's a good movie for kids. I would say I'd give it a C.
Mm-hmm.
It had some funny moments. They obviously wanted to use Alec Baldwin to the fullest potential with the most Alec Baldwin references they could get. But it's a cute movie. It's funny, and it's better than what Illumination's been putting out.
I mean, okay, I will say I really liked Sing, but if I see another Minions movie, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, no, and Illumination is so cheap, too. We're not going to get into that because they actually have nothing to do with Disney at all. They're a whole separate company that came out of nowhere. They came from a whole different country.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they are definitely starting a new type of feature animation thing that could be bad for the industry as a whole.
Right, yeah.
And it's just, but DreamWorks, that's the big story. It's like Katzenberg, he's the king of the Renaissance.
Right, and he went on to be the most successful person to part with Disney.
Yeah, and he's still working at DreamWorks doing stuff.
Mm-hmm. So that's our jaunt through some of the major players that came out of Disney in the late 80s. And what they went on to do.
So who's the Swan Princess guy?
Richard Rich.
Richard Rich, Don Bluth, and Jeffrey Katzenberg. Katzenberg.
I feel like I need to say it like the dad from Fairly Odd Parents. Katzenberg.
Again, I'm going to shout out to Lindsay Ellis because she went to college and got a degree. She knows film and film history and film theory and all this. She did a great couple-part series on Disney and DreamWorks and the evolution of the companies, and it's a great watch. Like, just go to her channel, go through her videos. She does fantastic analysis.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, well,
that's
I guess
for this week.
Yeah, we're all done for this week. So we will. We actually have a very special episode. So we had an episode planned with another group, but we're actually going to be pushing that one back a little ways. Our next episode is going to be an extremely special episode for February. I actually will not be taking part in this one, but we're going to get some other people on who are very qualified to speak on this matter.
Definitely. So look forward to it, and we will catch you next time.
Bye!